I have recognized the deepest truth, which is sublime and peace-giving, but difficult for the world to understand. Most of humanity moves in spheres of economic and social interests, and they will not understand the message. For to this world of egotism, there is happiness in selfhood only, and the bliss I speak of, the bliss which lies in a complete surrender to truth, is unintelligible to most. The truth and Nirvana itself always remain hidden to those whose souls are in the bondage of hate and desire, whose lives and minds are beclouded with worldly interests. The Enlightened One does not seek salvation through religious piety, nor does the Enlightened One live in a world of indulgent pleasure, nor overabundance, nor extreme poverty, for he has found the middle path. Know that neither vegetarianism, nor veganism, nor sacrificing to the gods can cleanse a soul that is not already free from its delusions. Now this is the noble truth concerning suffering. Birth comes with pain. Decay is painful. Disease is painful. Death is painful. Union with that which is unpleasant, separation from that which you desire, any craving that is unsatisfied, this too is painful. In brief, bodily conditions which spring from attachments to existence are painful. Now this is the noble truth concerning the origin of suffering. Truly, it is that craving that causes the renewal of existence, accompanied by seekings of satisfaction, now here, now there, the craving for the gratification of desire, the craving for a future life, and even the craving for happiness in this life. All of these are the origin of suffering. Now this is the noble truth concerning the destruction of suffering. Truly, it is the destruction in which no desire remains of this very thirst. It is the laying aside of, the being free from, this unquenchable thirst of existence. That's what leads to the destruction of suffering. Now here's the noble truth concerning the way which leads to the destruction of sorrow. Truly, it is the eightfold path, that is to say, right views, right aspirations, right speech, right behavior, right livelihood, right efforts, right thought, and right contemplation. These are the noble truths leading to the destruction of sorrow. He who knows the nature of self and understands how the senses act finds no room for selfishness, and thus will attain peace unending. The world holds the thoughts of self, and from this arises false apprehension. Some say that the self endures after death. Some say it perishes. Both are wrong. For if the self is perishable, the fruit they strive for will perish too, and at some time there will be for them no hereafter. Good and evil would be indifferent. This salvation from selfishness would be unnecessary. But if, as some on the other hand say, self will not perish, there is but one identity, unborn, undying. If such is their self, then it is perfect, and cannot be perfected by deeds. The lasting, imperishable self could never be changed. The self would then be Lord and Master. Morality and salvation would be unnecessary. But we see the marks of joy and sorrow. Where is the consistency? If there is no permanent self, then who does our deeds? There is no self, no actor behind our actions, no perceiver behind our perceptions. Now listen closely. The senses meet the object, and from their contact, sensation is born. Thus results recollection. Through the cognizance born of sense and object, the mind originates, and with it, the ego, the thought of self. To the one who has found that there is no self, it will be easy to let go of the lusts and desires of egotism and fame, and karma inherited from former existences. All are the causes of misery and vanity in this world. Surrender the grasping disposition of selfishness, and you will attain perfect peace, goodness, and wisdom. Gifts are great. The founding of temples is meritorious. Meditations and religious exercises pacify the heart. Comprehension of truth leads to nirvana. But greater than all of this is loving kindness. The tender man is loved by all. His friendship is prized highly. In death, his heart is at rest and full of joy, for he suffers not from regret. He receives the opening blossom of his reward and the fruit that ripens from his deeds. It may be hard to grasp and counterintuitive, but by giving away food to those who have none, we get more strength. By bestowing clothing upon the naked, we gain more beauty. By donating abodes of purity and truth, we acquire great treasures. The tender man has found the path of salvation, the middle path. He is like that person who plants a sapling, securing thereby the shade, the flowers, and the fruit in future years. A kind man who makes good use of his wealth is rightly said to possess great power and treasure. The bliss of enlightenment is attainable by everyone. The way of enlightenment does not require a being to go into homelessness or to resign the world unless they feel called upon to do so. But the way of enlightenment requires every being first to free themselves from the illusion of self, to cleanse their heart, to give up this thirst for existence, and to lead a life of kindness. And whatever you do, whether you remain in this world as an artist, as a merchant, or an officer of the law, devote yourselves to a life of meditation and put your whole heart into the task. Be diligent, energetic, and like the lotus, which, although it grows in the water, yet remains untouched by the water. For if you live a life not of self, but a life of truth, then joy, peace, and bliss will dwell in your mind. Life is instantaneous, and living is dying. The life of a living being lasts only for the period of one thought. As soon as that thought has ceased, the being is said to have ceased. All the elements of being, both corporeal and non-corporeal, come into existence after having been non-existent. And having come into existence, they pass away. There is not a self, as it were, residing in name and form. So a living being is the appearance of the groups of the four elements as they are joined in a unit. There is no self, no permanent individual self in humanity. Paradoxical though it may seem, there is a right path to walk on, and there is walking being done, but there is no traveler. There are deeds being done, but there is no doer. There is a blowing of the wind, but there is no wind that does the blowing. The thought of self is an error, and all existences are as hollow and empty as water bubbles. Therefore, as there is no self, there is no transmigration of a self. But there are deeds and the continued effect of your deeds. There is a rebirth of karma. There is reincarnation. This reappearance of the seeming self is continuous and depends upon the law of cause and effect. The thoughts of humanity, their character, their aspiration, are impressed upon others in a continuous transference and continuation of karma. And the good deeds will continue into blessings, whilst the bad deeds will continue to become curses. The body is a compound of perishable organs. It is subject to decay. We should attend to its needs without being attached to it. The body is a container. There is no self in it that makes it walk or act, but the thoughts of it. Since there is no self, there cannot be any afterlife of a self. Therefore, abandon all thought of self. But since there are deeds, and since deeds continue, be careful with your deeds. All beings have karma as their portion. They are heirs of their karma. They are sprung from their karma. Their karma is their refuge. Karma allots beings to being great or small. The rational nature of humanity is a spark of the true light. It is the first step upon the upward road. But new births are required to ensure an ascent to the summit of existence. The enlightenment of mind and heart, where the immeasurable light of moral comprehension is gained, which is the source of all righteousness. Having attained this higher birth, I have found the truth, and I am teaching you now the noble path that leads to the way of peace. I have shown you the path to the lake of ambrosia, which washes away all desires. I have given you the refreshing drink called the perception of truth, and the one who drinks of it becomes free from wrongdoing and karma. The very gods themselves envy the bliss of the being who has escaped the flood of their passion and has climbed upon the shores of Nirvana. For that heart is one cleansed from all illusion. The Enlightened One walks the noble path and lives in this world, and yet their heart is not defiled by the worldly desires. The one who does not understand truth, through repeated births, through the desert of ignorance, with its mirages of illusion, through the mores of right and wrong doing, will continue to incarnate. But if you have gained comprehension, the cause for further migrations and aberrations is removed. The goal is reached. The craving of selfishness is destroyed, and the truth is attained. This is the true salvation, the middle path.